Buenos dias, buenas tardes, clase. Not sure what time you're watching this video, whether it's morning or afternoon. Buenas noches, good evening if it's in the evening. So yesterday, we decoded your basic verbs and I had you make a Quizlet. And so today I want to continue on with conjugating in the present tense and go back and kind of review what you learned in Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 about the present tense. So if you remember, first of all, I want to start with your notes. So please make sure that you either print a copy of the notes from Google Classroom or jot these down in a notebook somewhere so you've got them. But the first section we're going to start with is sujetos pronombres, which are your subject pronouns. So let's go back and review. First person singular is yo, and yo means I. Second person singular is tú, and tú means you. Familiar. So when you're in the tú mode, you're talking to people that you know by first name. They're your age, they're your really close family or friends, and so on. Now down in the third person singular box, and hopefully you realize that on the left side of the chart, those are our singulars, and on the right-hand side, those are our plurals, and then each row stands for first, second row is second, and third row is third person. Okay, so down in the third person singular box, which would be right here, we have three subjects. We have she, which is ella. We have he, which is él. And if you capitalize it, you don't need to put an accent mark on it, but if you write it lowercase, you do. And you formal is usted. And don't forget, we can abbreviate usted, capital U, D, period. Going on the plural side, we is nosotros, or nosotras, if they're all girls. Making you plural, you get you guys. And again, these are a whole group of people that you're talking to that you're very familiar with. That is vosotros, or vosotras. And making she plural, we get they, the feminine form, which is ellos, or ellas, I'm sorry. And the masculine form is ellos. Making usted plural, we get you guys. And again, this would be a group of people that you don't know very well, so you're being formal with them. That's ustedes. And remember, we abbreviate ustedes, capital UDS, period. Your reflexive pronouns. If you remember, these are for verbs that end in say. So first thing you do is you take off the say and you put it in front of the conjugated verb. So to say myself, you say me. Yourself is te. You probably remember in Spanish 1, ¿Cómo te llamas? Is what do you call yourself, or what is your name? To answer that, you would say me llamo. I call myself what my name is, and then you'd respond. Himself or herself? The same. Nos is ourselves. If you want the vosotros, I'll give it to you. It's vos. It's you guys is. And themselves is say again. So we'll come back and we'll revisit that. All right, AR verbs. If you remember to conjugate an AR verb in the present tense, you remove the AR and you add the following endings. In the yo form, you add o. To form, you add as. He or she form, or the usted form, you add a. The we form, you add amos. Vosotros form, you add ice, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form, you add on. So remember, it's like a matching game. So if I gave you, for example, the verb lavar, and I told you to conjugate it in all forms, you would remove the AR, and you add these endings. So the yo form, notice yo form is up in the same box as this box that I'm in, you get lavo. To form is lavas, he or she form is lava. The we form is lavamos, The vosotros form is lavais, and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form is lavan. ER verbs. Take off the ER and you add the following endings. The yo form ends in O, tu form ends in ace. El, ella, usted form ends in A. Nosotros ends in amos. Vosotros ends in ice. And ellos, ellas, ustedes ends in N. If it's an IR verb, like the verb vivir, you would take off the IR and you add the following endings. Yo form ends in O, tu form ends in ace. El, ella, usted ends in A. Nosotros ends in emos. So that's where it's a little different from the ERs. It's going to end in IMOS. Vosotros ends in is, and ellos, ellas, ustedes ends in N. And that works for any regular AR, ER, or IR verb. Now, we do have some verbs that are a little irregular, weird, strange, wacky. Call them whatever you want. First one is ser. Don't forget ser means to be, like a permanent characteristic. And the forms of ser are soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. Estar means to be, as in like located or feeling a certain way. And the forms are estoy, estás, está. And don't forget those accent marks on those A's. And estás and está. Estamos, estáis, están. And don't forget the accent marks on all the second and third person people above the A's. First person, singular, and plural do not have accent marks. Ir is our verb to go somewhere. Probably remember this from Spanish 1. Forms are voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, va. So for example, if you wanted to say, do you go somewhere, you would say vas. We all go somewhere, vamos, and so on. Tener is our verb to have. The forms are tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, tiene. That one's a little weird. The E changes to IE, kind of in the section right here, but then everywhere else it doesn't. Hacer is what we call a go verb in the yo box because it ends in ago. It's not ako. But after that, it's a pretty normal verb. You get haces, hace, hacemos, hacéis, and hacen. And don't forget, hacer means to make or to do. Conocer is our verb to know, as in people. And remember, guys, if I'm going too fast for you, you can always pause it, stop it, catch up, and then continue on with the video. This is what we call a SCO verb. It ends in ZCO in the yo form. So we get conosco. And we're going to talk about this verb quite a bit throughout the first chapter here. Tu form is normal. It's conoces, conoce, conocemos, conocéis, and conocen. So you can kind of see that this verb is only wacky in the yo form, conosco. End up with that DCO in there. After that, it's a regular verb. Saber is to know, but this one is not people. This is facts or information. We kind of talked about this yesterday. And it's weird in the yo form. You probably remember it's when you just want to say to someone, I don't know, no say. After that, it's normal. It's a regular verb. So do you know something is sabes? He or she knows is sabe. We all know is sabemos. You guys know is sabes. They or you guys know is saben. Dar is our verb to give. It's only weird again in the yo form. That's why these are all kind of together in this bottom row, because they're going to have a weird yo form. So I give is doy. das, da, damos, dice, and da. Pretty normal after that, just weird in that yo form. And ver is our verb to see. Don't forget the yo form keeps that E in there, it's veo. And then after that, it's normal. Ves, ve, vemos, vice, and da. So those are some of our irregular verbs. Now, if you go to page 2 or you flip it over, we're going to talk a bit about some of these what we call shoe verbs or stem changing verbs. And if you remember, we have some verbs that either the E will change to an I, an O will change to a U will change to a UE, or the E will change to IE. And it only happens, guys, I'm going to draw a little shoe of where it happens. It happens in the yo box, the to box, the ella usted box, and the plural, ellos, ellas, ustedes box. It never ever hits nosotros or vosotros. They stay normal. So let's go back. Let's kind of jump down for just a minute. Well, not quite. We have 4 types of shoe verbs. We have verbs that go from O to UE. That's going to be type number 1. We have verbs that go from E to IE. That's type number 2. We have verbs that go from U to UE, but we only have one of those. That's the verb hugar, and we'll start with that one. And we have verbs that go from E to I. So let's start with hugar. So the directions tell us that it changes from U to UE. And remember, it's going to happen where I'm putting the stars. It doesn't happen in nosotros and vosotros. So if I were to conjugate this verb, my new stem is JUEG. And if I add my normal AR verb endings, I get juego, juegas, juega. Down here, I'm going to get juegan, but it does not stem change in nosotros and vosotros. So you get jugamos, nothing special there, and jugas. And remember, jugar means to play in a sport or a game. So let's jump back up to the top and let's do poder. You probably remember poder from Spanish 2. This is the verb can or to be able to. And it tells you here that it's an O to UE, so the stem is going to change from O to UE in these boxes. Remember, it makes a shoe. We can call them stem changers or shoe verbs. Here, though, in nosotros and vosotros, it's not going to change. You can keep it POD. And if you add your ER verb endings, you get puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, podais, and pueden. So there's an example of a verb that changes from O to UE. Every year I get kids who ask me, how do I know? And I always tell kids, well, they're just things you have to memorize. When you memorize the verb poder means can or to be able to, you should also be memorizing that it's O to UE. Second type we have is E to IE, and we kind of talked about the verb preferir yesterday, which means to prefer, and I told you I would be back to visit that today, and here we go. So I told you yesterday it's the second E that changes to IE. So remember, it's going to hit everywhere except nosotros and vosotros. So we can kind of do nosotros and vosotros right now and leave those as prefer. But we have to change this second E to IE in every other form. So we're going to get prefier everywhere else. And IR verb endings, you add O, so the O form is prefiero. In the 2 box, you add ace. So we get prefieres. Ella usted is prefiere. Nosotros, we just add imos. Vosotros, we just add is. And in the ellos, ellas, ustedes box, we add n, so we get prefiere. And our last type is the verb vestirse. If you remember, vestirse means to get dressed. Except this one has a say on the end. And we kind of talked about this on this first page here, if you go back to your notes and you look at your first page, that top box here in the upper left-hand corner, we have to remove the say and we have to change it to these pronouns. May, te, say, nos, os, say. So if you pull off the say and move it to the front of the verb, we're going to start with a may, a te, a say, a nos, an os, and a say again. And then what we're left with is the verb vestir. And I told you that vestir changes from E to I. So we're going to change all those E's to I's in all boxes, except nos otros and vos otros. That's where it's going to stay the letter E. And then you add your IR verb endings just like we did up here with preferir. So you get me visto, as I get dressed. Te vistes, you get dressed. Se viste, he or she gets dressed. Nos vestimos, we all get dressed. Vos vestís, you guys are getting dressed. And say visten, they or you guys are getting dressed. So there you go, guys. You got some good notes now, and in just a little bit, Mr. M is going to have you do some practicing this week with your notes. So make sure you keep them in a very, very safe spot. Have a great day. Adios, clase.